All right, welcome to the Warrior's Way. Our warrior this week is Denise Diller. Say hi.
Hi.
We're going to get to you in a minute. If you have not gone to spiritualwarfareunit.com and you are looking to struggle, or you're looking to struggle, if you have someone that's struggling in your family, which we all do, go to spiritualwarfareunit.com, click on our struggling page. You're going to find people there that can get food or baby clothes or baby formula or help or parenting counseling, all kinds of stuff, all for free. And you get to be the person that helps them. So be part of our Spiritual Warfare Unit and be the person that helps them out. If you've not followed our program, go to Spiritual Warfare Unit on YouTube, like, share, and subscribe so you can help other people find help that they need for free. All right, Denise, you are from a group called Crossover Outreach.
Yes.
All right, that is an interesting name. How in the world did you come up with that?
Well, many, many moons ago, actually 31 years ago, 3 of our downtown churches.
Sorry.
I have that effect on a lot of people.
Yeah, it's good. It's good, just non-coffee.
Right. So, no, 31 years ago, Court Street United Methodist Church, First Presbyterian Church, and St. Paul's Episcopal Church downtown.
Oh, the big boys downtown.
Yep, they were all doing a portion of what we do, and their ministers and their parishioners kind of decided to get together.
Yeah.
And
they're allowed to like each other?
Exactly, you know. It doesn't matter that the denominations are different. The thought process is the same, and they all wanted to come together and create a place where people could get the items they needed, but try to minimize the transportation issues.
Yeah, sure, because if you can go to one spot instead of 3.
Exactly.
Why not do it? And I know that all religious people all get along, so, you know, that's one of the beautiful things.
It is.
And coming from jail ministry, I applaud you, golf clap, I applaud you for working with the different theologians, because we all love God, right?
Oh,
we all want to help our community. We all want to help people do well. But sometimes we get in our own way a little bit.
Absolutely.
All right, so Denise is from Crossover Outreach, and she's the executive director. And your website is crossoveroutreach.org, correct?
Yes, correct.
Crossoveroutreach.org. So if you haven't seen that, click on that while we're talking so you can kind of take a look. Is there anything you want people like to take a look at while we're talking?
Just to watch the videos. The videos on that front page really kind of give a good overview of what we do and, more importantly, why we're doing it.
All right, perfect.
And
well, don't watch those videos while we're talking. So we're gonna skip that, but at least take a look at it. So you know, pull your mic a little bit closer to you there. And so where are you from originally?
So I actually grew up in Swartz Creek.
Okay, so that's like a farming kind of. It's not a big city.
Now, a small town right outside of Flint.
You were a dragon?
I was a dragon.
Yeah, that's Swartz Creek dragon.
Grew up in the same house my whole life.
Okay.
Went to school.
So were you a cool kid? Were you a nerd? Were you a sports person?
I kind of skated in between all the different groups. I played sports. I was into music, singing. You know, got good grades.
Wait,
but,
singing? You were a choir?
Yeah.
Oh, you know the choir ones are the wild ones, right?
Are they?
Yeah. Yeah, I joined choir.
I plead the fifth.
Yeah, I joined choir. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was, so I kind of skated between. It was a big school, so.
All right. And so any big events that happened when you were in high school, your parents get divorced, stay together?
Shockingly, my dad was actually 20 years older than my mom.
Oh, outstanding.
And so he was 47 when I was born. So
I don't know how he made it up to those games. Good Lord.
He was a pilot in World War II. So,
outstanding. Oh, so he's a fireball.
Yeah. He was definitely.
Really?
Yeah.
So that's where that's coming from.
So
getting this great fireball vibe.
Yeah, he was a good guy.
Yeah. Well, I was referring to you actually.
Well, thank you.
I can see that fireball in there. All right, so you were what we call a tweener. You kind of fit in with everybody.
Yeah.
That means your personality was really good. Makes sense why you do what you do. Right?
I was going to say I
kind of fit in with everybody.
Like being around people.
Yeah. What sports did you play when you were going?
So I played soccer.
Really?
I played speedball. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
No, what is that?
So that was...
doesn't involve drugs, does it?
No, not at all. Not at all. It's kind of a bizarre, twisted rugby. It's a combination of soccer, football, and basketball. So you can dribble like in soccer, and you can score just like in soccer.
Okay.
You can lift the ball off your foot. You cannot run with it. You can pivot like in basketball. You can throw it to other people. and you can either drop kick it through the uprights or throw it over the end line for a goal.
Really? How's that different from rugby? Because you had to kick it versus run with it?
You couldn't just grab it and run with it. Once you had the ball in your hands, you have to
dribble.
You have to throw it to someone else, or you have to drop it on the ground and dribble with your feet.
Yeah, I actually was a soccer player for 19 years. So
yeah,
that was 100 pounds ago.
But, it was a good time.
It was
a long time ago.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
All right, so you went to Swartz Creek. When did you graduate?
87.
All right, so any memorable experiences to help mold your personality as you were growing up in the high school times?
Honestly, the thing that molded me most was my time at church, because I went to the Swartz Creek United Methodist Church.
All right.
And we would go each summer. We would do a youth project, and we would go on. It's called the Appalachia Service Project. Mm-hmm. And so we'd raise money throughout the year.
Now, what is that? The Appalachian
Service? It's basically groups from around the country of youth.
Mm-hmm.
They would raise money, and they would go and you'd pay to go somewhere in the Appalachian Mountains, Grundy, Virginia.
No kidding.
Hollers in West Virginia, and there's where
Hollers.
we would help people who needed help.
Like doing.
I have built a 2-seat outhouse.
Shut up.
Not many people can say that. Yeah.
I didn't even know that was an option.
Yeah.
Like a his and her outhouse?
Yeah, it's well, and it's funny and sad all at the same time, because when we were done, you have to dig this entirely huge pit, which big spiders like to fall in. That's not my thing.
Outstanding.
But once we were done, the 2 little girls that live in the house were they brought their little dolls out, and they were climbing around in there, and they're like, "This is awesome. Oh my gosh, we're going to play dolls in here." And you're like,
you're not.
And then they pointed at the toilet paper holder.
Yeah.
And they didn't know what it was. So they asked what that was for, and we were trying to explain toilet paper. And I'm, 16,
this was in the 1980s?
60, yes.
Okay.
And these girls said, "Oh, that's for the rag." And if anything is going to impact how you feel about helping others, that really hit me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what's crazy is actually my grandmother grew up in Swartz Creek.
Yeah.
And she was an odd human being, but she was like the belt with the chain. She was a cabbie for 30 years. Like she's just a manly chick.
Nice.
And so like for her 82nd birthday, she wanted a chainsaw, which they got her, which I thought was the dumbest part of this. And then she went and chopped down a 12-foot tree. Like I was like, what's going on? They're like, "Oh, she'll be fine." I'm like, she's 82. Her 86th birthday, we go over there. She's roofing her house. And the only reason I'm bringing all this up is because she had an outhouse, right?
Yeah.
And so she didn't get indoor plumbing until 1995. I was like,
wild?
"Listen, Grandma, there's a lot of things I'm doing at your house, but going to the bathroom ain't one of them, because I am not dealing with that mental picture for my life. I'm just not doing it. Like, you want to shoot guns or something? She's perfect for that. But if you wanted like some motherly advice, you would want to go somewhere else." She was a hard human being. Rode motorcycles. I mean, she was
that.
Yeah, she was wild, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, I come by that pretty honestly. So it's like, I don't apologize for being the way I am. I want to direct it in a way that gives God glory, right?
How boring would this world be without all the amazingly different people that we have in this world?
Yeah, and there's a other side of that too. So
Yeah.
but that's true. And being left-handed and right-brained and that artistic weird side of me and all that, and I know you don't know this, but I was in a pretty horrific car accident in 2009, diagnosed with a brain injury, hence the hat and cool glasses, and so my whole personality changed.
Oh, wow.
Right? And so I went from being very outgoing, very social, very introverted, and like I do this really well, but you put me into a social situation where I'm not on stage, where I do fine.
Yeah.
But you're in there and there's all these people and, "Hey, how are you?" and all this, and I'm just like, I don't want to be here,
Get me out of here.
Yeah. Or before I was just like, "Here's a card," and it's like, it's totally weird how it all works out, but God uses all shapes and sizes, right?
Yes.
All right. So you're going to high school. You got to help little girls have outhouses. God, that's terrible. And that was in America. We're talking about America this time.
Yes.
America.
Yeah.
So that's horrible.
Yeah.
And so that gave you a passion at an early age to help people that didn't have things, right?
Absolutely.
All right. And that's why I want to know the app. I was like, because I think you meant to go that. So, all right. So you graduate in 87. Okay. And then what happens? What's the next step? You go to college or?
Yeah. I was
Where'd
very
you go?
lucky. My dad worked at Mott.
Okay.
And so I got to go there for free because
it's one of the perks.
Yeah, one
Yep.
of the perks.
Yep.
So I sat there and told you I wouldn't have any funny stories, but the first,
I knew that was a joke as soon as you started laughing.
yeah. So I went and I was going to Mott, and the first few weeks that I was there, I met some people, and this one young man, I asked him, what year he was, and he said, "Well, I'm in my 4th year," and I got all snarky, and I said, "Ooh, I didn't know they had a bachelor's program here."
Right.
And 4 years later,
There
I
you
was
are.
still at Mott. So the karma train came back around. I went to Mott for 4 years.
So were
got
you
2
like-
associate's degrees?
Are smart. So, so did you were you very social during that time?
Yeah.
Yeah. I imagine you have a very open vibe about you, very relaxed vibe about you. So I got to imagine you, like you said, you got along with everybody. I imagine everyone got along with you.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah,
that-
I met lots of interesting, fun people.
That late tween, early 20 time must have been interesting.
I'm still here, so
I'm still
all
here.
good.
That's what we said in the military. Right? Yeah, I'm still here.
I'm still here.
Yeah. All
God
right.
looks out for fools and children.
Yeah. Right.
You choose which one I am.
On that note, no. So, all right. So you did this, and how long were you there? Just 4 years?
Yeah, I went to Mott for 4 years, transferred to Michigan State, and graduated from there with a bachelor's in advertising.
Okay, so that would be 91, 92? 92, 93?
91.
91?
No. 93.
Okay.
91
I was saying,
out of
I was doing the
Mott.
math. I was like
91
4
out of
years, 2 associates, and carry the 2.
Yeah, 91, 91 out of Mott, 93
All
out
right,
of
so
Michigan
that
State.
put you at, what, 23?
Yeah.
24?
Yeah.
All right, so you're 23, you're 24, you're just getting out of college, Michigan State. My buddies would love that. My other buddies would hate that. I don't have a side. I'm a Michigan person, so State, Michigan, whatever, just not Ohio State.
Right.
So, so you're doing that. So what happens next?
Basically, I got a job in Flint,
Doing?
working for a printer.
A printer.
Yeah, working in the office and doing layout before it was done on computers, right?
All right, so
you had-
for a person who doesn't know anything about this, what does that entail? A printer. What is that?
a commercial printer. So the person that you want to print your letterhead, your business cards, your envelopes, that kind of stuff.
Oh, I got
Yeah,
you. Oh,
yeah.
I want this color
print
and this
shop.
shape. And,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I remember that on the movie Psycho. They were talking about the colors and all.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, burning plates with chemicals so that they could run the stuff and laying things out on.
So did you enjoy that, or is it just
It was all right. It was all right.
Okay.
It wasn't my main goal.
Yeah, right. Was it a start?
But it was a start,
Okay.
and that's where I met my husband. So,
All right, so you're 23-ish, 24.
yep.
And how did that work? Like he was in the office, or
He actually, some of his best friends worked there as well, and he did some computer work on the side for the gentleman who
and so
owned the company. So,
and you ran into him, and it was, hey, how are you? Or,
according to him,
yeah,
he saw me and said, "I'm gonna marry her."
it was bam. It was thunderstruck.
And I was not quite. It took a little longer for me to get on board.
You weren't on the same page.
I was not ready to settle down.
Like, good for him. He had to fight for it.
And he's amazing.
Yeah.
I couldn't choose anyone.
So
better.
how long was that time period?
So we actually dated for 3 years.
Okay.
Before we got married. So got engaged. How far in? About a year and a half to 2 years in.
Okay. Yeah, because me and my wife dated 6.
Yeah.
Like I had to know.
He actually said he was planning on asking me at 6 months.
Ugh, that has scared you right out, right?
And yeah, someone warned him, don't do that.
Yeah. Dude, I was the same way, because you got to know, that's a big, that's not, people are like, oh, I love you. And it's just like, listen, what I need to see you at your worst moment, like a couple of times, and then I got to know I can live with that, because then you know it'll work, right?
Yeah.
You can't just be like, everything's wonderful, and they're like, Isaac, you're so logical about it. I'm like, well, let's run our feelings. I've never made any bad decision when I was a feeling, it's,
Right.
my brain just doesn't work that way. So you from 23 to 26, you're just kind of working and courting and hanging out and being young and living life.
Yeah.
And all right. And so
Worked in Ann Arbor for that. Actually, I stayed there for maybe a year, and then I got a job in Ann Arbor. So I was working in Ann Arbor for
doing the same thing, or
doing marketing for a company. Exciting, making sensors and switches for automatic door and traffic control.
wait a minute, hold on. Say that one more time. I got to get a mental picture of this.
It's I worked for a company that makes sensors and switches for automatic door and traffic control.
So the doors that
Yeah.
you made the sensor.
Yep. The microwave motion detectors, the infrared presence
So
sensors.
like, were you the tester person? Were you like
No. I got to call people and convince them to buy them.
Oh, so marketing, you
Yeah.
were a salesperson.
Yes, create the documentation.
Hi, my name's Denise, and I'm calling from. Oh,
Yeah, I got to write manuals and
I
all those
actually
things.
like that stuff.
Yeah.
You know what's just weird? When I was working down at the jail, we were changing a bunch of stuff around, and one of the things that came up was writing the rule book, and I loved that. I thought I would not like that. I'm like, this is gonna be so stupid, and then I started getting into it, and I'm like, no, actually, the real way to do this is blah blah blah, and I just got into it, right?
Yeah.
And I was the nerd that was like, well, page 4, paragraph 3 says that you can't. Like, I turned into that person, and I was like, man, I was not that way.
Well, and it's perfect. Like for that stuff, it was very high tech, and I am not very high tech.
Yeah.
So it was like, okay, you're going to have to dumb this down for me a little bit, guys, because if I'm trying to put this thing in, I have no idea what
You
you
had
said.
install too?
I had to try it to make sure that what we wrote made sense.
Oh, that the process was incorrect.
I
Oh,
mean,
was
not
correct.
with live electricity or anything. I don't want to get zapped into next week.
Yeah.
But
Little bit of a liability
Yeah.
issue.
it was the place where I realized, honestly, that because I went into advertising and then I realized, like, I felt guilty trying to get people to buy things they didn't need with money they didn't have.
Right.
So it was kind of the perfect spot to go because everyone needs those items on an automatic door. So I didn't have to feel guilty.
And the fact that that's part of your process is crazy.
My mother always, and no offense to any religious group or anything, but I have, like, I feel guilty for things that other people are thinking about doing.
Yeah,
That's
right.
what she says, that.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. This is
So-
a perfect spot to take a break before we cut in our next section. I want you to go over to crossoveroutreach.org and check out our videos. We're on break. We're going to be right back. Please hit spiritualwarfareunit.com or like, share, and subscribe on Spiritual Warfare Unit on YouTube. We'll be right back. Taking a quick break from our podcast, I wanted to let you know about our life application program that we have for churches and nonprofits in the area that are trying to find programming that they can use in case the corona shuts you down and you're not able to get in. You go to spiritualwarfareunit.com. You click on our episodes, and you can check out our programs for as little as $29.99 a month to make sure that we're still getting the word out to those people that need it. Now, back to the
Welcome.
program.
I brought it back from North Carolina.
All right. Welcome. You brought the sun back. All right. Thanks to Denise. The sun is apparently in Michigan, so we want to thank you for that from North Carolina. Welcome back to the Spiritual Warfare Unit. And we are here with our Warrior of the Week, and it's Denise Diller, and she is from Crossover Outreach Ministries, and we were just getting into the getting married section, and so you would have been 26-ish.
26.
Which would have put you in, what year was this? 90?
Oh, gosh.
What year did you get married?
96.
96.
Isn't that terrible? Math is not my friend.
I know. Listen, that's why you got fingers and toes. Right? You can run out, you got a double shot.
Exactly.
All right, so in 96, you got married, and then kids right away? Or?
No, 3 years later,
Okay.
had our first.
All right, so you guys
Yeah.
like got into a house? Or?
Yep. Bought a house, kind of centrally located to I worked in Ann Arbor, he worked in Troy, family in Swartz Creek and Birch Run. So
Wow, okay.
we picked Holly because it was kind of a nice.
Yeah, and that's a great little town,
Oh,
by
it's
the way.
beautiful.
Oh, my gosh. And
Yeah.
the horses and the farms. That's just like a slice of old Americana. All right,
Yeah.
so you're working out there. So how did you get from there in 96 to, like what you're doing now? Like, what was the process after you got married? You had the kids, and then
had
like
2 kids. Figured out that I would be bringing home about $5,000 a year, and having my firstborn in daycare for 10 hours a day.
Right.
It's like, oh no. So we figured that all out, and I stayed home for a few years, and then I started working for the company that I used to work for online.
Okay.
And doing a lot of their
The
sales
sensor sales?
information and all that
Okay.
online. Had our second child in 2002, and when they both were in school, I said, okay, they're gone from 8 to 3:15 Monday through Friday.
freedom.
I have to get out of this house. I can't be, it's one thing when they were there and doing work. And
Felt like Braveheart at that point.
It's like, it's time. I have to be doing something. So I actually started working for their school as a parent ambassador 10 hours a week.
What does that mean, a parent ambassador?
Just basically walking people through, showing them around, explaining how the school operated. And
Was it like an academy?
a
or?
charter school in
Charter school?
Holly, called Holly Academy.
Okay.
My kids both went there K-8 and then switched up to Holly High School. So, and just, sharing the philosophies.
So, like during this... So during this time, are you like doing any kind of outreach work, or is that just because the kids and the work is full?
Right, just full of that, and no, and I started talking with my mom, and we have a really close relationship, and I had mentioned to her that I really thought I should, I needed to be doing something.
Yeah.
And she
Purpose,
said,
man.
"Hey, Crossover is looking for a development officer right now. They're looking for someone to help with fundraising." And
Okay.
I'd been doing fundraising at the school.
Yeah.
We started the first charter schools endowment fund,
Okay.
raising $100,000 in 3 years
Wow.
to be able to give extra experiences to the kids that were above what the school could afford.
Right.
And it's like, oh wow, 25 hours a week. Huh. Okay.
That's doable.
So it worked perfectly. Went, interviewed, and just fell in love.
Hold on. How old were the kids at this time? 5, 6.
Oh no, they were a little bit older. It was 2012. So
Okay, so
my youngest was
96
10.
So 96 to 2012, you're just living life, working.
Living life, working,
And
going
then-
to church, doing,
Yeah, just life.
but not,
Just surviving it.
yeah.
And then, so you're how old at this time? 2012?
2012. Oh, you're asking questions that are really hard to. I was in my late 30s.
Late 30s?
Early 40s.
Early 40s. Okay. So, and like, I understand
40s.
needing the purpose, right? So
Yeah.
it's like after my car accident, like I was stuck in my house for 7 years, just doing surgeries and therapies and being told, trying to survive organ failure, and just,
Wow.
it was intense, right?
Yeah.
And the doctors are like, you're never driving, you're never working, you're never going to be able to get out. And so not having a reason to get up every day, it was like, I need something.
Yeah.
And that thing was helping other people, right? God provided that process. So, all right, so you're in your late 30s, early 40s. So, all right,
So they
totally
were
get
my
where you're
purpose.
at.
Yeah.
You said it went perfect. What does that mean? Like when you went in, like you just hand in glove?
Just sitting there talking with them, and just learning about Crossover and what was happening every day. And then, it's not every day that you have somebody offer you, say, hey, okay, here's this job. And how do you feel about everything that's given is 100% given away to anybody else? That's the point of your job, is to bring in money
To give it all away.
so that we can give all this stuff away. I'm like, I think that's pretty awesome, actually.
Yeah, right?
I love that.
All right, so the job was called what again? Something officer?
The development officer.
Development
So
officer.
basically fundraising, grant writing,
Okay.
helping to do the events, getting the word out about what we do.
So how did it work when you first started? Was it like bang, it took off, or was it like a slow grind?
So when we first started, it was actually myself and a gentleman by the name of Craig Levitt who started as the development or the executive director, and we started the same day. And so we kind of looked at each other, and he's like, I've never been a director before. And I'm like, I've never been a fundraiser like this before. Let's figure this out. And just a great guy. And we worked really well together, and we just figured it out.
Wow.
You know, and we started out at like 175,000 was the budget. We're currently in the 300,000 range. We're serving an average of 13,500 people out of a little house in Flint.
Yeah, that place
every
right
year.
downtown. Like it's on Court and Grand Traverse, like Court though.
Right, on Court Street, just past Grand Traverse.
It's right on the corner there, big old sign.
Yep, right next to the old flower shop.
Yeah, I literally just drove by the other day. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so if you're a Flintstonian, you know exactly where that's at. It's right. If you're not, you would take 69 to Saginaw Street, hang a right, I think hit 5th Avenue, hang a left, and take Grand Traverse, and you run into it right down there.
You'll see it down there.
Yeah, luckily you can Google.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, right.
Thank
Where do you
God
go?
for
Just
Google.
So speaking of which, is the address online?
It is, but we're at 414 West Court.
All right. And that website is crossoveroutreach.org in case you just want to take a look at that while we're continuing to talk. So,
Yeah.
all right, late 30s, early 40s, just getting into like doing the work. And like normally when you get into it, there's this moment where you're like, yeah, this is what I want to do. Like, what was that moment for you?
That moment would be camp. So we help people with food and clothes and personal hygiene products and cleaning supplies and household items every day.
Yeah.
Right? That's the day-to-day. But we do additional annual stuff each year to make sure, and specifically for kids, right?
Okay.
You know, kids, they're special. I have a major heart for kids, and you don't have a choice. The zip code you're born into.
Right,
and it's
family,
horrifying
income.
that based on your zip code, that your lifespan is shorter if you're born in some zip codes than others. It's just, you know, I always, whenever we do anything at Crossover, the thing that it always boils down to is if I walk through that door, because every single one of us is a car accident, a job loss, or some other issue away from needing to walk through the doors of Crossover or somewhere like Crossover, is how would I want to be treated? And that is 100% what everything is done on. You know, we do everything out of our faith. There's nothing expected in return. It is meant to be, how can we make your world better?
Right.
So that sold me right from the get-go.
Right.
But we send 40 kids up north to a Christian camp every summer.
Okay.
Gets them an opportunity to get out of the city, to meet other kids from all around, to see how similar they are, how much they absolutely have in common. And, you know, it's a beautiful thing. And we do pre-camp parties because the kids are from all around the city.
All right, so what's that mean, a pre-camp party?
Right, we just get them all together for a few hours, and they have pizza, and we talk about
the day you're traveling?
Nope, a week before.
Oh,
the week before, we get all the kids together. We talk to the parents about what, you know, how everything's going to happen. We talk about the expectations of behavior with the kids, and they sign a little agreement
that I'll be good,
and then I'm going to go there. I'm going to be good. I'm going to have fun. I whacked this thing. Sorry.
That's all right. You can beat on it. It'll be fine.
But so at that pre-camp party, that's where we get to really, you know, play games. We get to meet the kids. We get to know the kids. They get to know us. We get to see how they interact with each other. And you get to learn more about these amazing little people.
And these are all like low income, no income kids, right?
Yeah. Yep,
Man.
we send 20 kids who are rising 3rd through 5th graders.
Okay.
And 20 rising 6th through 8th graders.
Okay.
And
what camp is that to go to?
It's called Camp Chickagami. It's in
Chickagami.
It's in Presque Isle, Michigan. The only way I can do it is on my hand, like a true Michigander. It's way up here.
Let's say that again, Presque Isle?
It's Presque Isle, Michigan.
Man, that's got to be right on the lake.
It is.
That is very Indian.
It's right up by Akiak Falls.
Of course it is.
Yeah. They actually, all the kids, they get to take a field trip while they're up there and play in the waterfall.
No kidding.
Yeah.
That's
so,
awesome.
you know, they're in cabins on a lake.
Yeah. And you do this every year?
We do this every year.
No kidding. And
we
is this
take 2 round trips up?
What's the price for that?
We ask the parents to put $10 in.
$10. Shut your mouth.
And we have had situations that's a barrier.
Yeah.
And it's like, look, the only reason we put the $10 there is to make sure you have your child here when we need you to be here, because we don't want to spend all this money and have this opportunity go missed.
Yeah, someone can't do it because you didn't have a little bit of responsibility.
Exactly, right? And that's everybody. We all need to take our personal responsibilities. We all have that. So
and the parent gets to say, I help pay for you to go.
Exactly.
Yeah, everybody gets something.
Exactly.
And that is super cool.
But we charter buses. So my favorite part of that is that we get all the kids on the bus, all their stuff's underneath, they're sitting down, and then they find out there's a bathroom on the bus. Shocking how quickly everyone needs to go to the bathroom.
My favorite part about that is you were learning how to do outhouses back when you were younger. Now we got them on the buses. On that note, we're going to take a break. If you've not gone over to crossoveroutreach.org, please check that out. Also, like, share, and subscribe at spiritualwarfareunit.com. We'll be right back. God kind of opened my eyes to is things that I don't like about other people or things I do wrong myself. Why is it that we lie? What is it that we get out of it? I didn't write the book, but that's just the answer. And you have to ask yourself, if that's the answer, do you struggle with that? All right, welcome back to The Warrior's Way. Our warrior this week is Denise Diller. She is from Crossover Outreach. Her website is crossoveroutreach.org. She's the executive director, and we were just getting into the moment that changed them and the kids and this and going down there. And you only charge the families, and you do this every year?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
So is that like coming up then?
Yes. In fact, it's in July, and we just put out, I just emailed, because we work with, so we work on a referral basis. We have over 100 agencies that refer people to us. So I just sent the email blast out to all of them with the camp flyer and the dates.
All right, so people go to crossoveroutreach.org and they wanted to sign up for this. If there was an opening, they could do that?
They can call me. All they need to do is call us, and we will schedule a time for them to come in. There's certain documentation that the camp requires. So we just schedule a time for them to come in and bring all that with them, and we get them signed up.
Man, that is so awesome. So if you got kids and you want to get them out of the house, I'm just saying, like we've all been parents, now a grandparent. It's like, listen, that downtime.
Right. And if they qualify for, if the family qualifies for EBT, or if they qualify for insurance through the state for their kids, that means that they qualify for camp.
So now we know the qualifications is you got to be broke. Something, it's not very often that being broke is advantageous, but in this particular time and period, like I'm a kid, I grew up on Stewart and DuPont. Yeah. Right. And so that is a horrible area. And so being able to give back in any process, this is why I love being able to interview you guys, because it's so good to see, because when you're growing up in that environment, you don't know people care, and you don't even know where to look. You don't even know you're supposed to look. Yeah. You're like, I'm just, everybody's broke. That's what we are, and this is what we do, and when people talk about racism, it's just absurd in my mind, because like, dude, we're all broke together. Like, why am I gonna hate other broke people? That doesn't make any sense. And it's like we all have nothing. So like, why am I gonna be mad at you if you have nothing and I have nothing because you look different? That's insane.
Yeah, I agragree.
And so it just blows my brain. Yeah. So, anyways, I apologize for interrupting. So you're doing the camp for the kids. Yeah. And all the way up here, this is a Michigan thing. So we're way up here at the tippy top. That's almost Canada for those that didn't know. and you doing that in July. Yep. All right. And you do that every single year.
Do that every year.
And then on top of that, you said your basic day-to-day functions so the same requirements for the kids to go to camp are the same requirements for people that need help from what you do?
Pretty much. Okay. Pretty much. I mean, if you need help and you've not been to Crossover before, walk through the door. Walk through the door. Yeah. Let us know what you need. We'll help you out with it. The reason we work on the referral basis, because I know people sometimes are like, oh, we don't want barriers. Well, it's not there to be a barrier. What it does is it lets us know, are you in a program for the core reason, right? Are you getting help for the core reason that you need help with basic needs stuff? Because
Right.
somebody doesn't just need basic needs things.
Yeah.
There's something more usually that needs to be addressed. So
Yeah,
we
an
get
underlying
people,
issue.
right?
Yeah.
So if somebody's sent to us by GHS, or if they're sent to us by a program, right? They're going through a program. Maybe it's a drug rehab, or it's
Yeah,
a mental
AA
health, or whatever those programs are. We know that they're getting assistance for that. We're not going to pester you to answer a ton of questions. We want to be there. We want to help you. We want to lift you up and send you on your way in the hopes that your day is better and that you now have the things that are going to help make your life easier on a day-to-day basis.
Right, because I like in my brain right now, I'm sitting here clicking, going, I want to hook you up with the director of Celebrate Recovery. I want to hook you up with the director of Salvation Army. I want to hook you up with my buddy Bob from Center Hope that we just had on, and like you guys, we all click in the same thing. Like they're doing Soberfest.
Yep.
Right, where GM puts that on there. You should totally come out to that.
I would love to be there.
Like, you sit down and do a table. I think it's $150. You hand out all your stuff. You sit there all day. There's 5,000. They do softball things. It's $1 hot dogs. I mean, it's just celebrating like being sober and hanging out and recovery.
Awesome.
And it's perfect for you guys, because I got a buddy of mine that has he's on the board for Richfield Academy School.
Yep.
Bob.
Okay.
And he is like same thing, K to 8th. And low income, no income, and it could refer right to you.
Well, and they have most of the schools in the city have Genesee Health Plan workers in the schools, or MDHHS social workers in the schools who refer people to us. They have McKinney-Vento workers in the schools that work with the homeless students, that identify students who are homeless, and work with them, and they refer people over to us.
Yeah,
so
and you can have your family say, listen, there's Academy Charter School here in Flint that will take them, and it's required for low income. Like and being a kid that had this, I never even knew any of this existed.
Yeah,
and it's like, this is blowing my mind that all of it's there. So here you are, you had your moment. You're in your late 30s or early 40s. So this is 2012, right?
Yep.
That you've been doing this, and now you've been doing this the entire time. Then
So
you went from, what was it, something officer?
I was the development officer, and then Craig, who was our executive director, it was his retirement gig, and he decided to retire from his retirement gig. So they asked me if I would step into the executive director's role.
Wow.
And I said yes.
And that was when?
That was in, oh my goodness, my first, when I was on my own doing it, 2021. So this is my second full year.
So that just is recent.
It was just like the last 4 months of 2020 that we worked side by side, so that I was sure that I knew all the stuff I needed to know.
You weren't walking in unarmed.
But yeah.
All right. So from 2012 then to 2020, you just did development and outreach, right?
Fundraising, going to events, and sharing about crossover, tabling there, making sure people were aware of what we did. And
that's crazy. You're like 4 blocks from jail. I was like, I remember driving by it going, who in the world is that?
We're the best kept secret you've ever heard of.
Dude, I'm telling you.
And we shout it from the rooftops as much as we can.
Right. Well, I tell you what, we got our television show's got a pretty big audience.
Thank you.
On Saturdays. Channel 17 on Comcast from 11 to 12. If you want to check it out, it's our podcast, and we highlight you guys. You guys are our stars. You're our fighters. You're our community warriors. And thank you at UCAN Studios allows us to produce our program here, and we're able to put that out. And my great and powerful Oz behind the scene. He said his hardest job is making me look good. And I'll admit, I got a face for radio, but it's not as hard as he's making it out to be. So you had... So during that time from 2012 to 2020, there had to be some like experiences that you went through that because once you start to get into something for long term, like you're committed to it, there has to be that give back where you feel like here, you filled that. There's got to be some of those.
Oh my gosh, every day my heart is filled.
Really?
Every day,
Give me a couple examples of something that sticks out in your mind.
Well, I was going to say this is kind of heartbreaking, but it sure did fill my bucket, and it made me realize that what I'm doing is critical, and that it has to be done. It's so necessary. So one of the trips to camp, and we do other things than camp, but we had 2 young brothers whose father had been murdered 2 years prior, and they had been homeless.
How old were they?
They were entering 3rd and 4th grade.
Wow. And
Little.
how did you get them? Was that GHS?
Mom brought them. Mom heard about the camp and wanted to get them involved.
Okay.
And they were just moving out of the shelter, and the boys were, she wanted them to get that experience.
Okay.
And we had the pre-camp party, and the one little guy just, he ate a ton of pizza and he got sick to his stomach. It's like, okay, all right.
Good for him.
I get it.
Yeah.
It's pizza. Everyone loves pizza. So we head up to camp, and then on the way back, we always ask the kids to write a letter to just share what did they love most about camp, what was, what their favorite things were, did they learn anything?
Sure.
And the
Like
older
honest
brother,
feedback, right?
Yeah, the older brother talked about how his little brother ate himself sick pretty much every day until the very end of camp. And that moment of like the light bulb moment in my head that went, he never
starving.
knows when his next meal is coming.
Yeah.
Never, ever. Yeah. I mean, it took the whole week for him to get comfortable enough there
Yeah. To know
to
he's
not
gonna
eat
again.
himself sick, that there was going to be a next meal.
Yeah.
And that, I have not, I haven't gone hungry a day in my life. I have to be
Yeah.
honest. I don't have that experience, that
Yeah.
personal experience.
Yeah.
That really just,
Yeah.
my head was spinning.
Like,
and how
like
can
when-
we do more? That, that was the first thing was,
Yeah.
how can we help
Like, so
more
when I
of
was a
these
kid,
kids?
like you said, my mom still struggles with addiction, and not a monster, like not a terrible person, just struggles, right?
Yeah.
And so pride takes over, especially when you're poor, right? So my mom would be gone 2-3 days, and there was this little elementary school, and they would have those mini cereals,
Yeah.
right? So I would go over there with the biggest pair of sweatpants and biggest sweatshirt I get, and I would stuff my pockets full. And my mom found this, because I was feeding my brother and my sister.
Yeah.
Right? And she beat me like a rented mule because she was mad that was the scenario, and that made it real for her. She wasn't really mad at me. She was
Right.
mad at herself, right? And so that response was a negative, which, we all handle stress in a different outcome. And so, like, when I went to go live with my dad, dude, I got plump because it was like you got pop.
Yeah.
You can have 2 hot dogs. You can have, you can have you can have seconds. Man, I couldn't. I was large, and it was like, but it was that response that you don't know,
Right.
and growing up with that and having that, like, you don't understand from a person that gets that. That is probably one of the greatest experiences he's going to remember for his life because he knows what it's like to not have that. And
Yeah.
I can just tell you from personal experience, that's awesome, right? What a great time to take a break. Thank you so much for what you're doing. If you haven't hit the website yet, please go to crossoveroutreach.org and check out what they're doing. Hit Spiritual Warfare Unit, help those people that are struggling, and we will be right back. People that are talking about breaking the rules use their fingers to speak to each other. And that's what gangs do to communicate from point A to point B. It's almost like this has been in the Bible for 2,000 years. And people feel like it's a new thing. That is unbelievable, isn't it? That things that are happening in your life today are in here from 2,000 years ago. That's very weird.
In this day and age, shouldn't be.
All right, welcome back. We are officially on our gem session. I did ask you for something funny, and you were worried about it. So we may come up with a blank. That's all right. I always have a funny story, but I'll give you a shot. You got it? You think of anything funny?
Yeah, I've given my funny stories already.
Those are the funny stories. All right. Well, one of the things that you find funny is when you're growing up really poor, like stealing food is not a crime, right? It's just not a crime. It's so, and people are like, Isaac, I disagree, and I'm sure the sheriff's office would probably disagree. But like I remember, like being a young man. Now we lived in downtown Flint, so we were Stewart and DuPont, and that's down. Anybody knows the area? That's pretty rough. It looks like a bomb's gone off down there now. So, anyways. there was a 7-Eleven on the corner, right? And so my mom had been gone 3-4 days, and I don't know what the street rate is now, but back in the day, the fact that I know this information is probably sad, but when you're selling your food stamps, 50 cents on a dollar for drugs to money switch, right? So for every dollar, you got 50 cents in drugs, and that's how it switched out, right? And so I remember I had seen this white, and they used to come in these packets, right? And they were different colors, like Monopoly money, right?
Okay.
And so I remember I was 8, so I was like, right? And I'm going into the store, and my mom was too embarrassed to use the chit, right?
Oh.
So I go in there, and this guy is in this fur coat, in this fur hat, and his hat's all kicked sideways. There's this beautiful woman, and he's got this basket full of like ribs and pork loin and ground beef. I mean, to the brim, right? He's like, "Oh, you can go ahead of me, son." 'Cause I had my milk, right? I had a gallon of milk, which was like, you're doing this thing with it.
Yeah.
And I go up there. Now, my mom wouldn't go in the store, right?
Yeah.
And so they're putting the stuff on there. And the lady's like, "How old are you?" And I was like, 13. And she's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "My mom's right outside the door. I'm just getting milk, She said, "Get your money out." So I pulled out. And as I did, I learned back. And this guy pulls out a wad of cash. It's like
Oh, wow.
what we called a knot back in the day, right? And he opens it up, and he's got the same colored money, white food stamps.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, wait a minute, I know this dude, right? And I'm looking at this, and I'm thinking to myself, that's mine. Like, that's mine. He's over there eating ribs. And I remember just chucking like those 3, you got to cut. I remember at 8 years old, I was just, God, Mom, going out there. I'm like, this dude's eating like a king, right? I'm like, Mom, you got to make some changes around here. I'm like, I hate processed meat. And as a poor person, that stuff is funny, but that's like real life scenario, right?
Yeah.
And so, and the reason why I am so vitally passionate is because, like you said, how you said, depending on what zip code that you're in,
Yeah.
you don't know that life is supposed to be a different way. Like,
Right.
you don't understand that, like, you just realize that people have other things. And the other thing is that I try to explain to people who come from nicer areas is when you come from a scenario of survival mode, okay, where each day you're just trying to get to the next day,
Yeah.
and you're trying to tell me about what my score needs to be, so I can get along. I don't even know what you're talking about.
No.
Like, I'm trying to make sure that my brother and sister don't starve tonight. I'm trying to make sure all the windows and doors are locked so my mattress doesn't get yanked. Like, that is the environment. And they're like, "Oh, that's not how it works." And I'm like, I don't
How
think.
do you think of anything outside of that?
Because that process of thought doesn't make any sense, because you're worried about what's going to happen next month. I'm worried about what's going to happen today.
Exactly.
And trying to explain that to kids, it's this huge gap that we still kind of have. And this is one of the hard things about what we do. Show them we care about them, love about it, but then it turns into this.
Yeah.
And then, you just use those church people to get those things, but then we're going to go do this thing. And then we're like fighting that.
Yeah.
It's almost that mentality, like that gangster mentality is almost an addiction in itself. And we fight those things. And coming from that environment, go, no, guys, we like, like when they go to jail, I caught a case. I'm like, really? You were running as fast as you could, and you caught it? And it's like, well, congratulations, you're a great runner.
Oh, geez.
And it's like, but how do we get out of that scenario? And then when you listen to the story, it always starts off the same way. Well, what happened was, and then whatever your bullcrap story, sir, is,
Right.
And for the justification. And when we go through these situations, you guys, Center of Hope, Carriagetown Ministries, Odyssey House, Serenity House, Life Challenge, Salvation Army, all of you guys fight these things each day. And I'm just praying that what we're doing, this is all getting blasted out to the people that have nothing.
Yeah.
That is the whole purpose. I remember when I came out with my game plan, like, God give me this idea, and I'm like, and it's like, well, the people that you're reaching out to don't have any money. How are you going to make any money? I'm like, first of all, this isn't about making money. You missed the boat. And the second thing, it's to the poorest poor people of the poor people. Well, you're an idiot. I was like, well, I have paperwork to prove that. But the point is to get them to the people that are doing this. Mm-hmm. They get help. The people that are watching this get to help the people that need it. You guys that are doing the work get to help the people that get it done. The people that support that get to help it. The churches get involved in their communities to prove that they love the people by doing the work. And the result is we're just telling people that you do it.
Absolutely.
That's it. And this all makes perfect sense.
It's perfect.
Right? But when I try to tell people, they're like, it's impossible. That was a word.
Nothing's impossible.
I just thought, well, what they don't understand is, like I told you, I was in a car accident, right? They said it was impossible to drive. I had the number one surgeon in the United States who did my eye surgery. He said, you'll never drive. You'll never have a job. He said, you will never be functional in society. 1, 2, 3, right? Now, in his defense, there had only been 7 other people who had this injury. It's called horror fusion. The name horror's in the name. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, right. And it's very debilitating. There's a lot of debilitating that comes along with it. But it came down to you got to pay the pain bank. If I'm willing to pay for the pain, then I can do what I want. I just got to be in pain to do it. That's the trade-off. Well, yeah, that's trade-off. I'm like, well, I can put up with some pain. Like, I know where I came from. Like, I got a lot of things, and a hard head is one of those things. And I think I can punch through that. And it's one of those things when you grow up in the area that you're helping, right? This Flint area, we have that. Mm-hmm. We have the ability. It's like to be granite.
Yes.
But it also is a two-edged sword because if you don't understand to receive help isn't bad.
No.
It's not a hurt to go to crossover outreach and get that. Everybody needs that sometimes. Like you said at the beginning, you were one car accident, you were one job loss, you were one divorce, you were one family dysfunction away from having to have these things. And why is that bad? You take it when you need it, and then you give back when you have it.
Absolutely.
Right. And that's what you guys do. And then to do it at a multi-faith functional facility, like working down at the jail, I know most people will disagree with this statement, but you probably don't know this, but do you know religious people don't always get along? I know you didn't know that.
Oh, no, never heard that before.
It's sheerly informational, just trying to be helpful.
Yeah.
But you sit in that environment, as I have, and then you got to be the high school kid that can get along with everybody. And God made your personality that way, so that's why this fits. I find that super cool.
Because how else can you be? I'm sorry. Everybody walking through that door, you meet so many just awesome, amazing people that happen to be in circumstances.
Yeah.
Circumstances. That doesn't make the person
bad.
It doesn't make them good, bad, or indifferent. They have value. That person walking through the door has a purpose, and they might not see it yet.
Right.
But we can help. We can help them see. We can just treat people with love and dignity and respect.
Right.
And hopefully mirror the fact that they deserve that.
Right.
And that they can give that in exchange, that they have that power within them to be the best them that they can be.
That's right.
And that it's not it shouldn't be a negative thing. You need the help. That's what it's there for. Come get it.
Right.
And then go off and be the best you can be. And when you're in a position, like you said, to give back, do that. That's awesome.
Right. Now,
it doesn't work if we don't all do this together.
Right. And being a person, I'm telling you what, I'm the only person I know that ever went to one meeting on disability, and they're like, yeah, you're on it. Like, I went in there, and just like you would think, gray hair, half-rim glasses, the big bow, green, looked absolutely beautiful. And I come in there, and I was seeing so many doctors. I had a manager. I didn't even know what I was doing, right? So I'm going in there, and we walk in there, and she was like, why do you need disability? Just like that. And I was like, that's what I'm here for? I was like, shoot, tell them I failed. I'm out. And I got up because I was like, I don't want any part of this, right? Because I know once you're on it, you're stuck.
Yeah.
And she's like, wait a minute. So we go sit down. And I'm like, I'm passing this test, right? And I swear to you, the first question was, remember these 3 fruits. And it was banana, apple, and something. And then I can't remember the rest of the test. I'm trying to remember those things. And I get done, and the lady gets done, and she's like, you need disability. And I'm like, I don't. I don't. And she's like, she got up, and she put her hand out. She just instinctively put your hand out. She said, in 27 years, no one's ever said they don't want my money. And I'm like, lady, this isn't money. This is pennies. I don't want this. And she said, thank you. And I just started crying. I was so mad.
Yeah.
And I was like, if you put me on disability, I'm suing you.
Wow.
And I'm calling your supervisors for lying. And she just started giggling at me. She thought it was the funniest thing she'd ever seen. And she said, this is why we help people like you. I was like, wow. And then sure enough, but I mean, it broke me as a person because of the stigma. You know, you're one of those people, and we're paying for you. And it's one of the, I'll be honest, it's a positive thing now because it's one of those drivers of I have to help my community. They helped me.
Yeah.
And now I have the ability to help them back. I have to do this. I can't not do that. And, you know, for you people that pay your taxes, thank you for helping us because me and my wife would not have made it. And so how can I not give back and help the people that are helping people? How can I not do that? So speaking of which, sorry, I don't normally talk about my testimony very much. You just brought that out, and I apologize.
That's awesome.
It's very intense. And speaking about those kids, just brought that into me. So,
Yeah.
so what is crossover? Like, do you guys have any functions that you're doing for the community this year? Or do you have any like events or things coming up?
So we typically don't have big events. We go to other events, but we have the programs that we do, and we do them a little differently because it's not about getting on the news or anything. It's about making sure that kids have what they need. So
well, maybe you should get on the news.
I know we try. We try sometimes, but it's hard when you don't have a big brouhaha kind of fun event.
Oddly enough,
we help 200 kids go back to school with 2 new outfits, 6 new pair of underwear and socks, a new pair of shoes, and a backpack and supplies every year.
The whole new school back to school
the whole
gig.
package.
Man, that's so cool.
But we can't do it in a big event because we're buying for each child their size, their school's colors.
So it's specific to them.
It's specific to each child. We're making little kits for each of these kids. So we have to get them ahead of time, names, everything else, and do this all.
Wow.
So it's not usually a big event like that. We're, and because of COVID, we haven't done the one big fundraiser that we'd been doing was a comedy for crossover at the market. And we're hoping we don't have it scheduled for this year, but we're talking about it. So hopefully we will be bringing that back because it was a great fun time. People got to learn about what we do while they're having a good time. But the biggest thing is we're there, we're doing the work. We help with Easter, Christmas, and Thanksgiving.
So you're like dedicated to these kids that get put into your program. That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's actually different from everybody else.
That's
like you're specific where like other groups do a shotgun approach and just try to get everybody a little something. You're like, no, I'm going to get this child these things specifically throughout the year. Wow.
Yeah.
Man, that's crazy. And this has been going on for how long?
We add different kids each year. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But this is our 31st year.
All right.
So for 31 years,
So you have no fundraiser things. Well, I'm going to tell you what
we do. We write for grants. We have individuals that make donations. We do a thank you luncheon for the donors that pledge every year.
All right.
And then we do some sort of fundraiser later in the year. It's just that with the way COVID has kind of put the kibosh on those. So
here's what we're going to do.
Back up.
Here's what we're going to do for, Spiritual Warfare Unit. We're going to get whatever events you have on our schedule.
Awesome.
We're going to do that for free. I'm going to let you know some of the community outreach events that we're having. Like one of my buddy is a music guy and he does events. And that might be something you can just go to and hand things out. The Silverfest coming up end of July. We can get you
awesome.
out and table and you can just hand out your stuff. And then we're going to get a link for Crossover Outreach on our website. So if you're watching this and you know of somebody or you're struggling yourself that needs something and they have kids, there is no reason for them to go struggle like we had a struggle like that poor boy. Boy, that has really stressed me. Like I'm struggling right now. Woo! Pulling myself together. And there's no reason to go through that because we have the ability to help these people. Denise, I am so glad that you came in. Crossover Ministries is such a cool thing. I cannot wait to be involved and help you guys out. I look forward to being a partner to you. And if you guys know anybody, help us, help you, help them. Go to Crossover Ministries or crossoveroutreach.org. If you forget that, go to spiritualwarfareunit.com, click on struggling, and we'll have their link up soon. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for
and
helping.
We'll see you guys next week. So you got it. Bye now. Do you have a nonprofit in your area that's doing a lot of work that people should know about? Feel free to contact Spiritual Warfare Unit at 810-715-9319, and we would love to have them on to see what good they're doing in the community and find out their story. Thank you so much.